Hello, Florida. This is Joe Mullins of the Live Work Shop Play Show, and welcome to another beautiful weekend in the greatest state in the greatest country to live, work, shop, and play, the state of Florida. And the reason this state is so great, we have got some amazing leaders that stand with this state and fight for this country to make Florida the greatest place to live. And today, my guest is one of the biggest fighters for Florida. He has been here many years fighting in the state level and then now on the federal level. We have got the great and the one and only Senator Rick Scott. Senator Scott, welcome to the show today.
Well, it's nice to be with you, and congratulations on your show and your success.
Well, thank you. And we're live here in Tampa now. We're in Tampa. You're at neck of the woods. Such a beautiful area. I think one of the things our listeners would love to hear in Sarasota and Tampa, where we're airing now, is really all over the state of Florida. A lot of concern is, what is this government shutdown? So I know by the time this airs, hopefully we'll get through it. But there's been a lot of discussion. What would a government shutdown do to Florida if it happened?
Well, first off, it's frustrating that we have shutdowns. The Chuck Schumer likes shutdowns. He hates Trump. This is just Chuck Schumer going against Trump. Think about it. Chuck Schumer's doing a shutdown because he doesn't want to continue the Joe Biden budget that he passed. That's how stupid this is. But what's frustrating is you're not going to be able to call, like, let's say Social Security. Their offices are probably going to be closed. Some Medicare offices will be closed. If you're buying a house and you need national flood insurance, you're not going to be able to get it until after the shutdown. You can hopefully go buy some private insurance. It might make it more difficult to get a loan. The national parks are only going to be open as long as they have visitor money to pay for cleanup and stuff like that. So it's just an unbelievable inconvenience. It doesn't save us any money unless the Trump administration is able to reduce the footprint and number of federal workers. Because historically, after the shutdown, people didn't have to work; they still get paid. So, can you imagine being called a non-essential worker? Like in your business, have you ever had a non-essential worker? I haven't.
No,
If
not
they're
at all.
non-essential, they probably shouldn't get paid.
Yeah. And I know that when we've shut down, we very rarely have paid employees when they didn't come in or couldn't come in. We've tried to work with them, but the motto that we take in business, and you're a businessman, as well, if a person's not working, unless they're salary or something, they don't make that money. It's like a restaurant closing during a time period. They don't make that money. This almost reminds me of like the time with COVID, where we started destroying and messing with our economy.
Yeah, COVID made no sense how people shut down, just shut down our schools, our businesses. They created all these government mandates that didn't make any sense. It never made sense.
So we just had the Lieutenant Governor Collins on, and he was talking about the state of Florida and how great it is and how much your leadership kind of paved the way. I told him you'd be coming on soon, and how much it paved the way for them to stand as firm as they have. One of the discussions we got was Orlando and some of the accountability that they're making them have with their government spending. That's trickled down from the Doge that you guys have set up federally. How do you see the government spending occurring especially if with a shutdown? How do you get efficient when stuff like this happens?
Yeah. First, Jay Collins is a wonderful person, and he's got a wonderful family, wonderful wife, wonderful family. So I think the way government should be operated is you should do what you do in business. Every day you get up and you say, what can I do better? I never had a customer in business that said, hey, I'll pay you more money because your costs are higher. I'll pay you more money because you have to comply with some crazy regulation. And so at every level of government, state, federal, local government, we have to say every day, how do we get more efficient? How do we provide a better service? How do we do it at a lower price? Constantly, just like you have to do in business. And so I'm happy when anybody goes and looks at government. I appreciate it when I was governor. If people came to me with ideas of how to make the state government more efficient, I thought that's great, because that's what we try to do every day. And when I was governor, we I walked in with a big budget deficit. Florida, had not balanced its budget in 20 years when I became governor. We balanced it every year. We paid off a third of the state debt. That's what we should be doing at the federal level, and that's what we should be trying to do at every local level too.
So now Congress normally approves or sets the budget. So that passed over there. Am I correct in saying this so our listeners understand what's going on? Because I think most people don't even want to listen to the news or don't believe the news
Um,
anymore.
yeah.
It passed them, but now it's held up on the Senate side.
Yeah. So the House passed. Well, first off, we're only doing this because the Democrats did not allow us to pass budgets. Now, we actually haven't passed budget since I've been in the Senate for 6.5 years.
Wow.
So what they do is the budget should be done by September 30. We don't even vote on a budget. I'm on the budget committee. We don't even have budget meetings. Okay, I'm not chairs of the committee, so I can't control it. So number one, we should be passing budgets. We're not. So then what they say is, oh gosh, we can't get our budgets done. So just give us a little more time. And so then what we typically do is they schedule the continuing resolution, which says we're just going to spend what we spent before, and that's what the House passed this time, clean CR. And then they have it expire right before a holiday. Then what they'll do, here's what they've done for 6 years in a row. Right before the holiday, they send us all a bill that nobody's read, just 4 people at the top have read, and they say, oh, you have to vote on this or government will get shut down right before Thanksgiving or right before Christmas or right before New Year. And they'll have thousands of earmarks. I think last year had 8,000 earmarks. Wow. Just wasteful money.
So this happened last year. It's happened several other times. I don't ever remember it stopping in the Senate. I remember Congress being a problem, but do we not control the Senate? Does the conservatives and the Republicans not control the Senate? And how is this happening if we do?
Well, it didn't happen under Biden because Mitch McConnell was the Republican leader, and he always gave in to the Democrats. So he got 10, 11 Republicans to vote with him, and he would just vote with the Democrats. What we're doing now is we're actually standing up for Republican principles. We're standing up for fiscal sanity. And Democrats are not used to this. I mean, Chuck Schumer's not used to having to work with anybody else. He's always gotten his way.
Wow. So what we see is probably there'll be something possibly, we hope, temporarily passed. This will go back and forth, and it may be weeks or months before this gets resolved. And that seems to be the pattern. How does that affect the state of Florida? I don't know
how they're going to pass. I don't know how we're going to get past this because Schumer doesn't, this is anti-Trump. So Schumer's going to do everything he can to block everything Trump's doing.
How does this affect the state of Florida? How does this affect Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville?
Well, if you need help from a federal agency, that's where it's going to be a problem. Your Medicare checks are going to, come to you, but you might have a hard time signing up if you turn, 62 or 65. You're not going to be able to get flood insurance. You're not going to be able to renew your flood insurance. If there's automatic renewal, that works. The banks are going to have to decide whether they're willing to give you a loan without flood insurance right in the middle of, we're still in hurricane season. So you're taking a risk that you don't have flood insurance when you buy that house. The federal parks might not be open, or they might be open just limited hours. So what you look at is, and if let's say you need to call the Department of Ag, there might not be anybody to answer the phone.
So the state of Florida basically could see an impact on tourism, the economy, some major things that impact and hurt us. What are some of the other issues, Senator Scott, that you've been working on nationally? We got Trump in, we got a stronger Republican presence in the Senate and the Congress. But, some people say there's been so much, you just can't tell by media what's happening anymore. It's people like you coming on shows like this, talking and letting the public know what is really going on. Where are we progressed and where are we still needing to work on?
Well, we haven't balanced the budget. I think the big thing is we're not going to get inflation under control unless we balance the budget. Wages are not staying up with inflation. Actually, I don't think we added jobs in Florida in the last year and 8 months. Wages, I talked to, families struggling to make ends meet. all the time now in Florida. I ran in 2010 to get people a job. Now it's difficult to get a job in Florida. So at the federal level, I know at the state level, they've got to deal with the property insurance rates have gone sky high. Car insurance rates are up. So I know that the state legislature is focused on that. But at the federal level, trying to hold China accountable, support our military. I've got two federal investigations going on. One understands why the Pacific Palisades fire happened and why they're not being able to rebuild. That'll help us with disasters in Florida. Number two is 80% of the generic drugs you consume in this country are produced in India and China. 90% of the ingredients are from India, are from China, and we don't hardly do any inspections. We have no idea. You have no idea what you're putting in your body. But what you do know is just like rare earth minerals, if China wants to hold back drugs, they can do it in a heartbeat. So we don't have that many drugs in stockpiles right now. So I'm doing things like that. I'm trying to be very supportive of the president on his agenda, what he's trying to get done. He wants a balanced budget. He wants accountability in government. We're trying to get his nominations done. We got 40 of nominations done in August after we changed the rules. We'll get another 100 some done in the next 10 days.
Yeah, that's unbelievable how long this is taking. I mean, this term almost will be over before it seems like we'll get these people in office and working. I just to tell you something and share with our listeners, you've got a great medical background. I was up a few weeks ago, probably about 2 weeks ago in Atlanta at Emory, and I was in an event where my father was being recognized, who was a well-known pathologist, and they studied disease. Well, the CDC was there at the hotel where I stayed, and this is the craziest thing. I sat there and I thought, Kennedy's running it. They got to be better. Senator Scott, people were walking around with masks on. They were sending the message, and they were all CDC. But the ironic thing is they were wearing their masks. They were playing around. This is liberal people that are in the office still that are fighting Robert Kennedy, fighting you, fighting people. But when they came into the Starbucks line, they were all within an inch of each other, standing heavy in a Starbucks line. I sat there and I thought, and I even asked them, I said, what happened to the 6-foot social distancing if y'all are pushing this with the mask? And they just looked at me and couldn't answer it. What kind of battle?
No, I think it must be that there's no COVID at that Starbucks.
Starbucks is exempt from it. That's what I didn't understand. But these are the people that are sending the memos out and So how is that working because the Democrats were smart? They loaded up the positions with people that think like them and act like them. They put a lot of liberal people in there. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that?
Well, first off, there shouldn't be, there shouldn't be any bias. So if there is, they ought to be fired.
Right.
If they're not competent, they shouldn't be there. We want the best. We want the best people working in government, especially in our military. So there has to be accountability. You have to have measurement and then accountability. That's what I've always done in my business life and in my government life. You create a measurement and you check how you're doing, and then you hold people accountable if they don't do it.
Do you think 4 years is going to be enough to clean up this mess that we had made over the last 4 years with Biden?
You think? Didn't take that long to turn Florida around, but it's this place is there's a deep state up here. So I know Trump's working every day. He's got a good team of people. I talk to most of his team almost every week. He's got a good team of people.
Well, we saw you with Pam Bondi talking about some of the aggressive stuff she's doing and the accountability. We certainly saw the strong movement when we put alligator Alcatraz down here. I think it's great having something like that. It sends a strong message in one of the weakest states that can be penetrated because of so much foreign people coming in here, yet we're the strongest. So, tell me some of the stance that you guys have done to help the state and how that's worked together.
Well, first off, you have to really admire Trump. He secured the border very quickly. This summer we reduced taxes by over $4 trillion. We've been working with the federal agencies to reduce the regulatory environment to help our businesses to grow. I think Bobby Kennedy is doing a good job of trying to get information out to the public on a variety of health issues. So a lot of it is trying to be transparent, trying to give people good information so they can make good decisions. That's what a lot of it is.
Now, when you left office as governor of Florida, we were very close to having a liberal Democrat take over the state of Florida, which would have destroyed it with COVID. We
Yeah,
Governor Collins or Lieutenant Governor Collins are talking. We'd probably still be closed. The
yeah.
country would be turned around, and it'd be done. There would be no more America. We would have had to have succeeded and split everything up because it would have been a disaster. Um, Leadership is so important and having people like you in office. We've got a midterm coming up. We've got a lot of important elections. How are you guys working on a federal level to help Florida secure and not be overturned by some of that craziness?
Well, the biggest thing is make sure that you accomplish what you said you're going to accomplish. I tell people, look, if I'm not doing what I said I was going to do, you shouldn't vote for me. So number one is we ought to go do our job, balance the budget, reduce the regulatory environment, make sure parents have good school choice, keep people safe, build a great economy. You do those things, you get elected and you get reelected. So, number one, that's what we have to do. Now, the voters have to be active, run for office, help somebody run for office, go out and vote, serve on, do all the civic things you should do.
Now, we've seen a lot of races come and a lot of people running for them. I think the Republican committees or the Republican clubs have been very strong and proactive. You know, with this coming up and this happening, how do people get engaged as far as supporting? We got Ashley Moody. Ashley Moody's running. Senator Moody is running for another term or running for an actual term. How do we help them identify and support these positions to keep people like you guys in office?
Well, you're doing the right thing. You have us on. Let us tell our story. You don't tell us what the answer is. You let us, you ask the questions. And let us give the answers. But I mean, look, we just, if you want to win an election, if you want to change your state, you got to work your butt off, and that's what we've got to find people wanting to go fight and be hard workers.
Senator Scott, we always love that part of it. And you've been a big example and a big leader of leading the way and making sure strong people get in there. Um, what are some of the things you want to tell our listeners in the Tampa area and really all across the middle of the state and the whole state? What are some of the things you want to let them know that are coming or you're working on or to be aware of that are coming that they need to be and how we
Well,
can help?
number one, we have 9 offices in Florida. If you need something from any federal agency, give us a call. We've got a great team that works out of the Tampa office. We've got people in South Florida. We got all over Orlando, all over the state. So I tell people I can't solve problems I don't know about. So tell us the problems and we'll work on. Maybe we can't solve it, but if you tell us about it, we're going to work our butt off and try to be helpful to you. I hope everybody works hard to try to continue to build our state to be the best place in the world to live, work, and play. That means we got to continue to build jobs, new businesses, make sure kids have a good school choice, make sure people are safe. Thank God for our law enforcement, our sheriff's departments, police department in particular, because they make it for people who want to open up a business, want to buy a house because they're in safe neighborhoods.
Senator Scott, what I was just out talking to some guys that were out in California, and that was one of the big sporting events they held out there, and they said they never want to go to California again.
No.
It felt unsafe. It felt bad. The poverty, the people in the streets, they couldn't walk to the
Yeah, the
venue without.
homeless.
Yeah, amazing. How does Florida not have all that going on?
Well, we have great law enforcement. We have great elected officials. Our sheriff departments are elected, county-wide. They really care about the safety of their counties. We've got mayors that are doing the right thing, a hiring great police chief. And so I think you put that all together with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and Highway Patrol, we're a safe place. When I left, we were at a 47-year low in our crime rate, and I think it's continued to go down since I left.
Yeah, it's looking amazing. Let's also talk about the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk. Amazing guy. Both got to work with him, talk to him. Amazing guy. Was out there just doing. Really, I compared him in a show to Martin Luther King, and so just same instance out there trying to speak his voice and talk. And the far left turned around and started attacking and saying all kind of. He deserved it. He asked for it. Lieutenant Governor Collins and I were speaking and said, imagine when Pulse happened. I think that happened when you were governor. Imagine if the conservative side, the Christian side, would have turned around and said what they said with Charlie Kirk. Well, they deserved it. They would have had a fit. They would have went crazy. We didn't do that. We didn't act that way. What is your comments on what happened and the
Well,
way the country?
first off, Charlie was a good friend. I did his show almost every Monday. I talked to him 2 days before he was murdered. We talked about him going to that campus. I go to campuses quite a bit, and you just can't imagine what happened there. And a wonderful person. So your heart goes out to him. But the positive is Charlie built a great organization. They're going to go on. They're going to continue to prosper. If you look at the numbers, at least, it looks like more and more chapters are opening. So we've got to tone down everybody's got to be, understand that there's violence. There's violent people out there, and you're going to have to be safer. You got to be careful of what you say, which is fine with me. I mean, we should not be inciting violence, period. But
right.
What a wonderful person.
It's so amazing seeing what his wife's doing, how she's standing strong, and some of the comments she made at the funeral. They always said behind an amazing man is a even more amazing woman. And I look at the example of your wife and what she does for you and how strong she is. It's true. You see this and you see him in the background, but then there's also the fear of knowing that even if you go out to work one day, you've got this deranged people out there that you may not come back home to your family. This is a job for you, but you have a bigger job, and that's a father, your husband. You've got those roles. How do you feel with that happening, and what kind of security has been taking place?
Well, you try to be safe. When I was governor, I have law enforcement 24 hours a day. So, you just continue to add more security to the extent you can. So you just try to be safe and always know you're in God's hands, and God's going to take care of you.
Senator Scott, as we wrap up here, is there anything you'd like to let our listeners know and the areas know in specific?
Well, my heart goes out to you if you're dealing with the shutdown. It is having an adverse impact on you. I'll do everything I can to get our government reopened. If you need anything, I've got 9 offices. Just give us a call. We have a great team that works their butt off to try to make life better for Floridians and Americans all across the country.
Senator Scott, I want to thank you for coming on and love to have you on. Always love having you on. The listeners love hearing from you and getting the truth behind what is really going on. Because if you listen to the media, it's you guys are up there fighting and ridiculous with things. But when you really look at that budget and you look at what you're doing, you're trying to correct what's been wrong so many years and so many decades for that matter.
Yeah. Well, first, finally, congratulations on your show. I'm glad you're successful. You do a great job getting the message out.
Thank you, Senator Scott. We love having you on, and welcome anytime. And remember, leaders like Senator Scott are why the state of Florida is the best place to live, work, shop, and play, and why all of us, the rest of the 49 states, want to mimic and be just like the great state of Florida. Senator Scott, thank you for what you do, and keep fighting for us up there.
I'm going to. See you, Joe.